Jay-Z. I've been teaching people a lot about how to use Claude Code with personal operating systems, with team operating systems. You guys at Laurel have taken it to a level I have not seen before. You guys have built out a company operating system. Can you show me what this is and what it does?
Of course. All right, let me screen share here. Okay, let's start here. Let's go to GitHub, our favorite place. And so you'll see here that we have in GitHub a company-wide operating system where for every single function in a company, customer success, data science, design, engineering, finance, implementation, legal, marketing, we have essentially all these folders that share how do you think about each phase of work that function does. So in customer success, you do account management. And within account management, you're thinking about, renewals, upsells. You do a customer enablement. And within that, we essentially work with our customers. We do office hours. We help them with rollout. We do training and onboarding. Each of these folders have a skill. And I think for those of you who are less familiar with GitHub, we'll actually hop over here to something that is very familiar, which is essentially your file structure, your folder structure. And so going to customer success, you can see that each of these folders have a series of folders that are the activities that they do. And then within each of them, they have skills. So how do you actually think about creating the right assets for the negotiation support or the right references? I'll go back one more for renewals, right? What is the skill file there to really think about how do you walk through a renewal correctly with a customer? And now you're like, okay, cool. You have some folders in GitHub. You have, some stuff that you can download. How does this all come to drive like real change? And the way I'll talk about this is, at the end of the day, we all live in some form of email or Slack. And so what I'll do really quickly is I'll open up my Slack. And again, this is not real data in the sense that we do have very sensitive data that I'm not going to be sharing. So this is a little bit more mock, but it shows you exactly how our team operates. So for example, every single morning, every person on a lot of these customer-facing teams, right? They're highly repeatable motions. The more we can sing from one voice and say the same thing, the way we can create consistency and the awesomeness of the customer experience, that makes your company, much more unified. And it's a big part of the brand. And so when you think about that, and you think about a customer success person waking up in their day and really seeing, let me go here. This is an example for customer success. Here's your calendar. Here are all the meetings that you have, the check-ins that you have, the onboarding sessions you have. This is something that a lot of people are building, this example of a chief of staff light concept. But what we're now doing is we're integrating all the skills. So for example, when we do a handoff, when we do a session prep, all of these are actual skills. And what happens is then when anyone is using Claude, for example, and I'll just go into, I'll go really quickly into the organization settings, and I go into your skills. You can start to see that you can upload all of these skills into your company context. And as a result, when you're going through your day, you can essentially say, great, I'm going through my day. I'm doing all these things. I will use these skills so that I no longer have to spend all the time creating that one deck or spend all that time creating an email. It is actually something, exactly what skill to use when. And I think that's the biggest thing that companies struggle with, which is you got these people who are these 1% AI users. They're tinkering with their workflows. They're highly AI pilled. And then you have the 90 to 99% of the rest of the organization who isn't sure what to use when. And so as a result, you can actually integrate your skills, again, at a company level. So across every single one of these functions, going back to files, each one of these functions and all the activity that they do in order to be able to understand what skill should I be using when, and where should I be spending my time. Maybe the last thing I'll just show to kind of to really bring this to life is every single company, you can map every single function's work to what I call an ontology. So in sales, all of the work in sales maps to these categories that they're supposed to be doing. And within each category, there are a series of tasks that happen. And this is actually what has informed the ontology that I just showed you. We've done the really hard work of mapping out, okay, for every single function, again, I'll scroll through this, marketing, sales, customer success, implementation, design, engineering, so on and so forth. these are the things that we believe that each function should be doing. How do we actually create a set of skills for you to do the things that we want you to be doing more, and to also automate the things that we don't want you to be doing anymore? So I'll go to product, which is, a lot of the audience here today. In product, what's really interesting is that, you should be spending your time like an engineer in many ways. And we talk about this later where, the ontology or the work map of a product manager is starting to look a lot more like an engineer. But there are a lot of things that used to be in the day-to-day of a product manager, doing competitive market analysis, doing all these like writing for stakeholder management, or really mundane, tedious organization, getting people on a phone, synthesizing feedback, etc. All of these things, as we all know, are starting to get automated. But again, it's automated in a really lumpy way, where one PM might be doing it really, really well, and another PM might not be doing it as well. So what we can do here is when you onboard everyone with a company OS, again, going back to this GitHub and going to, let's say, product, right? You can start to say, hey, these are all the playbooks, all the skills that I want to give every single person on my team. And then when they come in for their daily briefing, what ends up happening is that they are able to see their day at a glance, and we essentially tell you where you can automate your day. So you take the thing that is essentially designed by the 1% of any given function, the person who is playing around the most, and you're able to spread those learnings throughout the entire rest of the organization.
I'm notoriously bad at my inboxes. I guess there's a version of that where I seem cool and unavailable, but the reality is I miss sponsor emails, guest pitches, and stuff that my team actually needs me for. So I got an AI assistant. The sponsor of today's episode, Ariso. Ariso connects to my email, calendar, and Slack. Then I just chat with it over Slack, and it helps me with everything. It builds workflows to respond to emails, resolve customer issues, prep me for meetings. It actually comes to my meetings, updates its own knowledge, and remembers context from past conversations. So every time I talk to it, it already knows what I'm working on. I used to pay for Granola and Lindy separately. Ariso replaced both. One tool does more, and it lives right in Slack where I already work. Check it out at ariso.ai/Aakash. That's ariso.ai/AAKASH. I hope you enjoyed that short clip. You can check out the full episode here.